sure mama had every presentation. Testing 1, 2, 3. All right. Hello, I'm Minister Dominic Alexander, President and founder of the Next Generation Action Network. NGAN is a social justice organization based here in Dallas, Texas, founded in 2014. Our organization has been on the front lines of police brutality, civil rights, human rights for over 10 years now. Our organization has been involved with policymakers, legislation at the state and federal level regarding law enforcement. We have been at the table enacting policies regarding with Chief Brown, Chief Hall, Chief Garcia, and currently the interim police chief that's currently serving right now. We are here today because there is a charter amendment that goes against the fundamental creed of the Next Generation Action Network. A charter amendment that would literally cripple our budget in regards to city services, continue to ignore the socioeconomic element of our communities. This charter amendment is S, T, and U that is currently on the ballot in the city of Dallas voters. This charter amendment was created by an individual by the name of Monty Bennett, an individual that is no stranger to the city of Dallas. For many people, a lot of people are saying that Monty Bennett and his actions are new. We know they are not. In 2018, Monty Bennett created this Keep Dallas Safe initiative, where we started to see buses and billboards and mailers being sent out about being tough on crime and different things that created this fear-mongering tactic that the black community and brown communities and communities of color see all the time be over-exacerbated and over-politicized. We also saw Monty Bennett fund a fake social justice organization called Dallas Justice Now. Early on in their inception, NGAN was getting a lot of blame for the actions of this organization. This organization had one yet mission: to start and disrupt and be able to put out misinformation in regards to the movement. One of the first activities they did was sent a mailer throughout Highland Park asking white children and children in Highland Park not to go to Ivy League schools. For many people, of course, in this movement, that's not one of the biggest things in the area of social justice. But evidently, Monty Bennett, that was one of his missions. After that, we saw Monty Bennett in his attacks attack a black chief that used to be here, attack Chief Hall while she was the chief here. And the reason why it was important for us to highlight this, and important for me to highlight this as a president and CEO, in his area to discredit her, he put out a mailer and he put out an email throughout the city of Dallas stating that me and Chief Hall had an inappropriate relationship. I only bring that up because at that time I could not defend her, because I know that in the day and age of perception, that me saying something, because women deal with different things than men do in America, and that any perception and anything that came from my mouth was not going to help her at this time. And I bring this up because I want people to know that his games in the city of Dallas is not new. And so what he did was, with a board member and a former state representative, Stephanie Carter, he created an organization called the Heroes Initiative. He spent more than $3 million in this initiative. In October of 2023, Stephanie Carter, the president of the Heroes Act, scheduled a meeting with me, came into my office and met with me and showed me the charter amendments that they wanted to propose. And one of the things, as they led this meeting, they kept talking about stuff that me and you, Dr. Haynes, and many others have advocated to be in the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. It first started off their deceptive game from the beginning. And it said stuff like duty to intervene in the charter amendments. It talked about banning chokeholds. Well, newsflash, in 2015 and 2018, we worked to get banning chokeholds in the general orders. It was no need for us to ban chokeholds because it was already placed in the general orders that governs the Dallas Police Department. So that's one thing. She left from that meeting and lied to the Dallas Police Association president and told him that NGAN had worked with her to author certain banning chokeholds and certain things in that amendment. And I'm just here to tell you, if I would have ever worked with any Trump or conservative thing, I would step down from NGAN. There's no way in hell that I would ever be manipulated by something that is just blatant. And I know who Stephanie Carter is. I remember her as a legislator. She did not author bills that reflected the community in which I came from. So in any meeting, she would have never deceived me. I want to be able to talk about the fact that in this amendment, it asks for an additional 1,000 police officers. It continues this cycle of fear-mongering tactics that we continue to see in our communities and black and brown communities across this country. But I want to be able to hit one data set. In Chicago, there are 2.6 million people, but 13,000 police officers. In LA, there is 3.7 million people and 9,000 police officers. So if you do the math, do hiring more police officers address or cause or solve crime? No, it do not. These are continued fear-mongering tactics. For front leaders behind me, we know what solve crime. What solve crimes in our community is when we address the socio-economic element of our community, when we address food deserts, when we address and share the economics of the city of Dallas, when we don't have communities like South Dallas that live in a digital divide, when we don't have political games being played with resources, and we actually understand that the lives in 75216, the lives of 75215 and 210, all of the zip codes that literally are robbed of the economics of this city, that is literally spending $3 billion on a convention center. And we want to find out, and we want to think that officers are the answers to addressing crime. It is not. And every time we see something go on the news, we talk about violent crime. But I'm here to tell you, the Office of Police Oversight, the Leadership Conference, I believe Tamara Neal was part of this initiative. It highlighted in the misdemeanor report what Dallas Police Department used most of its resources on. More than 70 and 80% of the resources that are used of this mountain behind us are not violent crime. But whenever we get somebody in front of these cameras, we hear violent crime, violent crime, violent crime. We need to violent crime, violent crime. And so when we have the audacity to put things on the charter like decrim and marijuana, we have people looking like us telling us not to vote for it. What we're trying to do is say, hey man, your district attorney is not prosecuting these marijuana things because 90% of them get dismissed. So what we're saying is, if violent crime is a problem, stop arresting people for marijuana that is already legalized in 11 different states. That's what we want you to do. We want you to actually use critical thinking to address the socioeconomic of our community, to not use and continue to be the answer to increase the police budget. How about increase parks and recs? How about increase wraparound services, community cares, and food resources. How about using that money for that? Not using 50% of all revenue to go into the public safety budget. Yet taxpayers in 75216 and 215 and all of these hard economic cities paid for that Omni Center, for that DFW airport, for that Dallas Love Field. Yet we want those economics to flow through black and brown communities and communities that have been hit hard. We do not want these resources to be robbed of us. And so I will end with this and pass it over to the next speaker. We have to address hate when we see it. We have to address bigotry when we see it. Too many times in the city of Dallas, we have politics and politics that play. And right now we live in an America where there's no such thing of nonpartisanship. I would dispute if that ever existed. Because in my community, as a black man in America, I've never saw anything that has ever benefited me in a nonpartisan way. It has always been partisan. And right now, we have critical issues. And the Next Generation Action Network stands in solidarity with so many critical leaders today to say enough is enough. I'm going to bring up my pastor, Dr. Freddie D. Haynes III.
As a preacher, I know when just to say amen. And so what our president, Minister Dominique Alexander, has shared collects, as it were, the sentiments of so many. I'm Frederick Douglass Haynes III. I'm senior pastor of Friendship West Baptist Church. I'm also a part of the Dallas Black Clergy and a part of this community. And I think I'll stop there. I live in Dallas. I work in Dallas. And so I resent a colonizer who does not live in Dallas having the nerve to believe that he can come into the precincts of our city and dictate what is going on. It's the politics of colonization, but it's also a reflection of the fact that this so-called hero initiative, let me just say this, whatever else I know about heroes, I love the Black Panther. Black Panther serves and saves. That's what heroes do. They serve and save. The hero initiative is engaged in that which is surreptitious and sneaky. And as a consequence, I am saying hell no to hero. I'm saying hell no to hero because S, T, and U will do damage to this community. It has Project 2025 proclivities, and with that being the case, we are saying hell no to zero. Why? Because number one, we know how to solve crime if we're serious about solving crime. We talk about public safety and not over policing the black and brown bodies that we love to criminalize. And so as a consequence, we weaponize the police department and believe if we get more police officers that somehow that solves crime. We already know the stats. The stats let us know police do not solve crime. They do not prevent crime. What solves and prevents crime has everything to do with an investment in community services in those communities that have been historically, economically exploited and neglected. And so, Monty, why don't you use your billions to invest services on our side of town? Use your billions to ensure that we have parks and recreational opportunities. Use your billions to ensure, use your influence to ensure that we have the same kind of investment on our side of town that you enjoy on your side of town. And that is when we have public safety. And that's what we're calling for. We are calling for public safety. And so to S, we say no. To T, we say no. To you, we say no. Because hero, hell no, until you bring about real public safety investment on our side of town. Dallas, quit playing. You've been playing in our faces since the inception of this town, and we are saying hell no to zero, because we do recognize there's an economic divide in Dallas between north and south, and until you invest on the south side like you do on the north side, we're going to continue to have this same problem. And then you have the Montys of this world who have the nerve with their colonizing politics of what would I call it? Lying like the orange man to ensure that he plays the game and benefits economically from creating chaos through STU. No S, no T, no U.
Y'all give a hand for Dr. Freddie Haynes III. Awesome. The next speaker I want to bring up, Tamara Neal from No Stupid Collective.
He tried, y'all. He tried. Give it up for Minister Dominique Alexander. I also want y'all to give it up for Dr. Pastor Freddie Haynes. I want y'all to give it up for yourselves, because the community, y'all look good. Y'all are here. Y'all could be anywhere right now. Well, we know when y'all leave, y'all going to vote no for STU. So y'all are here, and we all gonna go to the polls together. Y'all ready? All right. So I am Tamara Faye with the Say No to Stupid Collective, right? And what that means is we have formed a collective of organizers and a collective of organizations that are pushing back against billionaires behind the Dallas Hero Charter Amendments. And that we coined those amendments as STU, which is the beginning of stupid. Now sometimes, now the Bible says speak truth to power and speak the truth and shame the devil. So we just gonna get right to the truth. And the truth of the matter is propositions STU are stupid. They're very stupid, because what they're doing is going to bankrupt our city. And our city is not for sale. Our city is not for sale. With that being said, I want y'all to understand this movement came out of a community movement builder, Stop Cop City movement, because we want to change the way that our communities are policed. Just like Pastor Freddie Haynes said, you need to stop over-policing our communities. And what we said to that, we demanded that other departments that have heroes already, Dallas Hero, that should not have to fight for leftovers, right? There is no way in a city that just approved a $5 billion budget in October that we should have to fight for leftovers. Parks and Rec should not have to fight for leftovers. Arts and culture should not have to fight for leftovers. Our real heroes, firefighters, should not have to fight for leftovers. Educators should not have to fight for leftovers. Healthcare should not have to fight for leftovers. And so what we say when we say no to Dallas Hero, we're saying no to the trickery of anyone thinking that propositions ST and U are good for our city. Dallas Hero, we don't need another hero, because our real heroes that are in our city departments that work in our city deserve much more than what these measures that y'all are bringing here. And we outwardly rebuke these amendments. We outwardly rebuke ST and U propositions, because we are saying that in order to be a great city, we have to look at something that Minister Dominique Alexander just said. He talked about legacy. And that's where I want to center right now. Now, legacy is a concept that is deeply rooted in the Bible. And it carries a significant spiritual meaning. And in the book of Proverbs, one scripture says, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. The biblical principle emphasizes the importance of legacy, which is the lasting impact that extends beyond one lifetime. want you to tell me, how can Dallas Hero, some outsiders, come into our city and say that they're pushing for a democratic and a nonpartisan change in these propositions as to you, but we haven't looked at their legacy? What we want to talk about today is Monty Bennett's legacy. We want to talk about Peter Morocco's legacy. We want to talk about Trent Poole's legacy. We want to talk about Stephanie Carter's legacy. And what does that legacy say? It says that Pete Morocco of In-State Strategies firm was appointed a field position by Trump in 2020. So you can't come in our city and say that these are democratic amendments when everybody in all of your legacy says that you are a Republican MAGA distraught body of crazy tricksters that are backed by Greg Abbott, and tell me that this is the one time that you're doing something democratic. No, we rebuke that because we know that STU is perpetuated by Monty Bennett. He's the Ashford Hotel owner, the Rustic Restaurant owner, and one of the leading loan recipients of the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program. You got $46 million for all of your employees, and you fired all of them. So I want y'all to understand something about legacy. It's hard for you to detach yourself from legacy. So don't let Dallas Heroes come into our city and actively say that they have something good for us. We know that STU is not good for us. We know that STU is stupid. And we are reminded every day that the real heroes are the working people in this city. And we should not let people who do not live in the city of Dallas dictate how our money is spent. So we're asking you to vote no to propositions S, T, and U that are stupid propositions. You can always go to saynotostupid.org to find out more about what we're doing. Thank you.
Y'all give a hand for Tamara Neal. Awesome. I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Sharon Middlebrooks with the Dallas NAACP.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. I'm reminded of a couple of things here as I've listened to my brothers and my sisters speak in reference to S, T, and U. One is a saying that Commissioner Price always says, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. That will resonate at some point. But as we talk about S, T, and U, we've talked about democracy. Democracy is all-inclusive, not exclusive. How can you tell a city such as Dallas that 1,400 people will be interviewed as to what a mayor should, not a mayor, but a city manager should receive and or not receive, should stay or should go? A city manager is hired and fired in this city by the city council. If you don't like what your city council is doing, fire your city council person. You don't fire your city manager, and maybe that's what this is all about. Because there is the talk to go from a city manager-led government to that of the mayor. I want to speak to whereas we can all understand that as we talk about Dallas, a very rich city, we just happen to live in the poorest parts. The disparities that have been going on for years, 1.3 million people in the city of Dallas, and we talk about 1,400 people, will determine the stay of a city manager. Think about that. 1.3 million, but only 1,400 people will make the decision. I live south of the Trinity. Yes, south of the Trinity. I say that because no one came and asked me what did I think about that going onto the new ballot. No one asked me if I felt like the city's charter needed to be changed. So I have to ask myself the question, Will they even come and ask me what is my thoughts and my process as it relates to keeping a city manager? You're right, of course not. It was never intended for that. So as my brothers and sisters have stood here before you today, and they have said, just say no to S, T, and U, because S, T, and U is stupid. It's stupid. It's stupid that you would even want to change the amendments without talking to the city council people. Even the majority of the city council people have weighed in and said no. Former mayors have weighed in and said no. How many more no's do we need before we go out and we vote no? Let's say no to S, T, and U, better known as stupid. Just say no, because it's not good for us. Us, the people. The government is of the people, for the people. I think that's what they used to teach us anyway. Of the people, by the people, for the people. So when you don't bring the people, Commissioner Price, to the table, we got a problem. That lets us know someone is waving the strings upstairs, and it's not the man that's downstairs. So I encourage you, today is October 21. Today begins early voting from 8 to 5, and you can vote at any political station. It doesn't have to be your own polling place, so long as you are registered in Dallas County. My brothers and sisters, you go out and you vote. You vote like your life depends on it, because it does. And it doesn't start and begin with S, T, and U. It starts at the very top of the ticket, all the way down to the bottom. Eat it. Eat it from the president down to the city dog catcher. You must vote. And hell no to S, T, and the U. Thank you.
Y'all give a hand for our representative of the NAACP. Awesome, awesome. Dallas. I do want to recognize Texas Organizing Project, who are here with us today. I don't have any other orgs other than Coalition, NAACP, NGAN. I don't want to miss anybody. Okay, perfect. Also, I'm going to pass it over to Billy Lane, who is the Executive Director of the ICDC, an organization that was founded by our mother and the mayor of South Dallas, the Honorable Diane Ragsdale, and also a pastor in this community as well. Y'all give it up for Pastor Billy Lane.
My name is Billy Lane. I'm the Executive Director for Inner City Community Development Corporation in sunny South Dallas. Also Senior Pastor of Camp Wisdom United Methodist Church. In regard to propositions S, T, and U, on the surface, the stated goal seems to have to do with public safety and municipal accountability. There's nothing wrong with either one of those, as has been well articulated by our speakers. But drastic increases in funding for law enforcement will not offset the negative impact of defunding public education and underfunding economic opportunities for all. There is more than enough research that demonstrates that our public safety is inseparably linked to our investment in public education and in the prosperity of our most economically vulnerable residents. Unfortunately, some deny this data, just as some deny the outcome of the free and fair elections of 2020. The best accountability in a city comes with inclusion and when participation in the democratic processes are maximized. We're not there yet, but we must not give up. Participation in the democratic process among Black and brown communities must improve, and it is all of our responsibility to ensure that it does so. We encourage you to vote no to propositions S, T, and U. Thank you.
Haven't missed anybody. Also, I just want to thank everybody for coming and participating in this press conference. I did not want to have this vote go on and the community did not speak. All of the politicians and the politicians spoke, but I wanted to make sure that we stated the facts. And the reason and the difference between that press conference and this press conference is that we're going to give a voice to the community in making sure that we tell you articulately what this is taking from. Right now, we live in a state where it has defunded mental health, it has defunded education, it has defunded the socioeconomic element of our communities. And these same people who yet funds our governor, yet are the same people who are coming here doing everything in their power. The governor has even intervened in this situation by telling the Texas Supreme Court to actually intervene in this situation and give a ruling. Let me make this very clear. How do we file a lawsuit in district court and then the Texas Supreme Court supersedes the district court and intervene when they didn't even file a case in the Texas Supreme Court, didn't even file an opinion in the Texas Supreme Court to be able to say what their arguments is? The Texas Supreme Court just ruled down and said, you can't do it. And these politics are coming from the top of our state. And what we're saying in the city of Dallas is not going to happen on our watch. And what we're going to do is make sure that our community is educated on what is at stake. There are so many great amendments that are currently on there, but we are asking the voters to vote against S, T, and U. We're asking you. We want you to educate yourself on what is going on. If this amendment passes, in Dallas Police Department, which we already know, cannot hire 1,000 police officers. What these people are going to do is then file a lawsuit against the city of Dallas. And indirectly, what that's going to do, the city of Dallas is going to have to loosen the standards of law enforcement in order to have those 1,000 officers be on the streets. Now, when they loosen those standards, where do you think those loosened standard officers are going to go? They're going to go to the South. I remember when those people hired those Texas state troopers to be in South Dallas. And those good white folks was in those meetings from Preston Hollow and all that. And they said they didn't have enough officers. And I remember standing up in the meeting and I said, hey, well, you know, if you think the state troopers are so damn good and they stopping us 9,000 times in 30 days, then put them in Highland Park and then bring them back over here, right? Put the DPD officers over here. They didn't want to do that. So what you will not do is take us back where we have made progress. I'm not sitting here saying that the relationship between community and law enforcement is the best. It's not. I'm not saying that there are some things that we don't need to finish when it comes to inside of this police department. But what you will not do is take us back for the things that we have been able to accomplish. And the one thing that we have been able to accomplish is make these standards critical to make sure that we weed out officers that killed Sandra Massey, the officers that killed George Floyd, officers that killed Botham Jean, officers that killed Tatiana Jefferson. If those standards are totaled with, then you get those officers, and those officers come in our community and kill us in our homes. They stop us because of poor people crime. And yet at the end of the day, we will not regress in this movement. I have not sacrificed 10 years of my life being the president and the CEO of this organization to see everything that I have critically worked on in this mountain behind us just go to shreds. And that's what will happen. And at the least, if I do not connect with you, let the officers who connect with you or the people who connected with you that have articulated why this is wrong, have you vote against this. And at the end of the day, I speak for the Next Generation Action Network. I don't know about the other community groups that are behind me, but I just want to leave with this, that the Next Generation Action Network is not only a supporter, but we ask that you pass Proposition R. That is the DCRIM. That is the DCRIM Charter Amendment that is on the ballot. And what we want people to understand, because the facts have not been put out about this, your district attorney, Dallas County District Attorney, is not prosecuting these cases. He's literally have been prosecuting these cases for years now. They literally went against him. And the reason is, in the state of Texas, more than 90% of these cases get dismissed. They cannot, they end up being, if they are prosecuted, they end up becoming an equivalent of a traffic ticket. So what we're saying is, put it in the charter so that officers don't even look at it, don't whatever. And then I want to be able to educate people. If you've never been a part of the Texas legislature, the Texas legislature would have already passed and decriminalized marijuana in the state of Texas if they knew how to tax it. It is not an argument down there from Democrats to Republicans, and the reason is I literally sat in the hearings that were held on it, and I didn't hear not one state senator or state representative, whether they were Democrat or Republican, talk about nothing that marijuana was this and marijuana was that. All I heard these people argue back and forward was the economics of how to capitalize and how to do business with marijuana in the state of Texas. So what we're saying is what we need to do is be progressive in this situation and literally decrim this in the city of Dallas and stop bringing people to jail for this situation when we know that 11 states in this country has already decrim, and it's only years from now that in the state of Texas it'd be discrim, and you're going to have to vacate all of these cases, all of these convictions, all of these things. And yet what we're saying is that if you want our officers to be focused more on violent crime, then have them and decrim these petty crimes like people sitting on the side of the corner, and yet you arrest them, and yet you're wasting resources. If violent crime, let them focus on violent crime and stop arresting people for poor people's crime. Thank y'all. God bless y'all. I hope y'all go out and vote. I hope you go out and vote. Tonight at Concord Church at 6:30, we will be hosting a panel discussion on STU. We'll be joined with Councilmember Zarin Gracie, Councilwoman Paula Blackman, as well as Chunka Higgins with Dallas Action. We will have a critical conversation. Also an investigative journalist who did a report and a story on Monty Bennett in his deceptive ways. So at 6:30, we ask that y'all join us at Concord Church. And like Dr. Middlebrook says, stay woke.